joining us to talk to us on a relatively momentous week, it has to be said, but also on a day in which I think this afternoon the new acting Reserve Bank governor, because Adrian Orr's sloped off and gone, God knows where, there's going to be an attempt at, I don't know, probably cutting the official cash rate. Anyhow, all these matters, plus the Green Investment Finance Fund. Craig Stobo joins us, our resident economic and financial guru, and he joins us now. Craig, lovely to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Michael, and thank you for accommodating me a day earlier. Appreciate it.
No, not a problem, mate. Well, thank you for being with us. Hey, listen, mate, first of all, official cash rate this afternoon, is that right? What are you expecting?
Yeah, so 2 o'clock this afternoon, currently 3.75%. The choices are a reduction of 25 basis points, or possibly, and a remote possibility given the volatility around, no change, but I think the former is on the cards, given the weakness of the economy, even though there was a positive quarterly number in March. The key thing is that inflation, is within the band, 1-3%, and they can afford to drop. But I don't think they want to be aggressive here because of incipient inflation pressures that may arise from global issues associated with Trump's tariffs. So they'll be a little bit more cautious perhaps than they might have been otherwise.
So you think that they might have cut the official cash rate by 0.5%, Craig, if it hadn't have been for the Trump tariff announcement?
Well, I think they would have contemplated that scenario, but both the combination of the quarterly December GDP number and some concerns around, what tariffs might mean they just remain a little bit more cautious than they would have been otherwise. Yes, that's my belief.
Okay, so if you're correct, and I'm not going to doubt you at all, you've turned out to be pretty much so on the spot over the last 3 years, and the official cash rate goes to 3.5% sometime at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Is that already factored in by the banks in terms of their mortgage lending, or will they change? Will they drop 0.25% themselves?
Well, your markets will always anticipate these events in some respects, yes. But bear in mind that there are different mortgage rates for different time periods. And what we're talking about right now are floating rate mortgages at the very short end of the yield curve. Yeah. It's not my expectation that rates will change very much at the... I'm not an financial advisor, but look, 3 to 5 to 7 year mortgage rates, I don't think will change very much because the shape of the curve is changing. It's becoming steeper. Short rates have fallen much more than long rates have. So I expect if anything will happen, it will be in shorter time periods for borrowers.
I'm not asking you to give me any financial advice, but I am just interested that over yesterday, I think I read a number of economists said if it's got a 4 in it, and you can fix your exchange rate, your mortgage rate, take it for God's sake. Is that, do you think, orthodox advice at the moment in the market?
Well, is it orthodox? I haven't done a survey, but there'll be advisors who will be looking at people's particular circumstances, and I think that's the important thing. That advice has to be tailored to those individuals' needs around budget certainty, or a combination of fixed and floating, or they may have liabilities on the other side that they need to take into account as well. So, yeah, I don't know whether it's orthodox, but there'll be people who'll do different things, obviously, depending upon their risk appetite and budgets and view of the future.
All right. Well, that's... listen, and on the tariff issue, we had Tim Grosser on yesterday, his views on it. One of the things he said was, listen, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I'm sort of just going to sit back, get on my chair, have a nice glass of wine, get the popcorn in, and just sort of enjoy it. Is there a frisson like that in you as well?
Well, you can sit back and wonder about how weird the world is, but many of us have to make real-world business decisions around what to do next. So many of us cannot sit back. We need to make decisions around, well, are we confident in the investment horizon to make investments right now, or do we just sit and understand whether this can flip-flop again? So unfortunately, the world keeps turning. You can't sit back and ignore these events. This is like Trump tariff entropy, isn't it? Like it's an uncertain system that just keeps getting more uncertain. We've seen elevated responses from China. That may attract a countervailing response again from President Trump. What I admire about the New Zealand position is that we're relatively well off, which you've discussed, I'm sure, before on the program, vis-a-vis other countries like the EU, for example. And secondly, we've kept our head below the parapet by not retaliating from a position of no leverage, of course, because our tariff regime is sub 2%, so we don't have any leverage. But we're not accepting the outcome, but we're not publicly railing against it. But I'm sure we'll be working via Rosemary Banks or Winston Peters around how to work better with the US. What this will do is bring more and more countries to the table to the White House. There are already 80 countries lined up in Washington, and there'll be others that turn up to say we need to do a deal. And if that improves the outcome for the global trading system, then that's a good thing. But it's just incredible the kind of energy it's developed around, well, we can't sit where we are. We've got to do something. Let's go and see Donald Trump.
One of my problems I've got is that there is so much mainstream media hatred of Donald Trump that the information that we're getting from them tends to obfuscate or obscure the kind of analysis that you're making now. And there's almost been a sense of panic over the last, well, obviously it reflected to a extent in the share market over the last 3 or 4 days as well. New Zealand's position is just sit back, be sensible, be normal, just carry on, do your best, which is such a New Zealand thing to do, Craig, and frankly one of our better attributes. Do the mainstream media need to do the same, do you think? Because you can panic people if you continue to put on the front page the most scary of predictions and the most extreme of assumptions.
Well, I guess I'm not selling newspapers, am I? I'm not trying to be sensationalist to generate eyeball views on my particular media channel. Look, Warren Buffett famously said, never ever doubt the capability of the US to generate wealth over time. If you take a long-term view with your retirement savings accounts and you're 20 years away from retirement, is this going to worry you? Really? I don't think so. So I agree with you. Kind of creating panic is just inappropriate, given that things can change in the flick of an eye by Donald Trump tomorrow. So I'd just be really cautious about making decisions based on the last few weeks. Yes, we were surprised by the reciprocal tariff methodology and who's in, who's out, but it was flagged before the election that he would address these things.
Correct.
And he has consistently said that for a long period of time, so that shouldn't be a surprise. I think what was a surprise was the scale, methodology, and the speed. I mean, he is moving at speed, which is catching people out, which is why the markets have reacted the way they have. But because there will be deals done, I just don't think you can hang your hat on last Thursday as the enduring outcome. Things will continue to change.
All right. Now, the other issue that I thought was interesting this week, and you obviously did as well, and that was the government deciding to cancel the Green Investment Finance Fund. Now, it's got a bit of coverage because it managed to make a magnificently, unfortunate investment, of which it seems to be getting no money back in terms of solar roof panels in a particular company. But it has got $400 million associated with it, which is a large sum of money and could be spent on a lot of good stuff. Good decision, bad decision?
Well, I think Minister Watts has made the right decision to stop the activities of Green Investment Finance. So it's now going to be wound down. The investments will be paid off over time. I'll come to Solar Zero in a minute. In his words, he believes that there's been limited results from Green Investment Funds, funding or financing of roughly $400 million of investments around different projects around the country. So there are 22 staff in GIF and 3 directors and an advisory board.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
So the question on the table is efficacy. Are they going to make a change the dial, make a difference when there are quite a few other funders of private, including private entities that finance green investments if they wish to. The issue that's probably not helped is the resignation of the chief investment officer and then the chair in the last period of time, and then of course the announcement by Solar Zero that they were going to go into liquidation. And Green Investment Finance had provided, as I understand it, loans to equipment purchased by residences to put solar panels on their roofs, etc. It wasn't an investor per se in Solar Zero Limited, and Solar Zero Limited is subject to liquidation. So what I don't know is what's outstanding to the taxpayer in terms of loans, repayment of those loans and the interest on those loans from householders. But clearly, because it stopped, because Solar Zero is in liquidation, there are many people who are contractors to that business who are no longer able to continue with their job of rolling out and installing solar panels, which has been a bit of a shock, I think, for contractors and employees of Solar Zero Limited. So look, that fund, GIF, will be wound down over time. It stopped, and I think that's a good decision if it's not moving the dial.